I'll just kind of open it up for questions post-practice.
Oh, slide over a little bit. Yeah. Initial impressions, I know this is the day you've been waiting for.
Yeah, number one, I told the guys after practice I really liked their energy. I mean, they were excited to get out there. That's probably not a surprise, but they were excited, and I felt like they had fun practicing. That's probably the number one impression. Number two is athletically, I really liked what I saw out of the skill guys. You know, it's hard to judge just off of what you're doing in mat drills or weightlifting, but when you get a ball in the air and see guys throwing and catching and those type of things, I could tell that the skill guys have put in some work on their own before we got out there, so that was a positive. But still a long way to go. To me, I'm more focused on how we practice, more important than actually executing the plays and those type of things. Just the little things, getting on and off the field, not walking off the field, chasing the ball when the ball's thrown or the ball carrier breaks the pocket, having 21 people chasing in that direction. And so that's the biggest thing that after one day we need a lot of work on, and hopefully we'll have a good level of improvement in that area from the first practice to second practice on Thursday.
Did you take a moment to soak it in that this is your first day on the field with these guys? Because I talked with your dad, he said this is maybe the most excited he's ever been in his career to see you out there and how proud he was.
Yeah, I got out there a little bit earlier than I probably typically would get out to practice, just because I wanted to kind of survey it a little bit and spend a minute kind of thinking through it. But really, outside of that, that was it. I mean, I took a picture with my daughter before we left the practice field, just so we'd have a picture of our first practice here. I'll pull it out hopefully 10 years from now and embarrass her in front of all of her friends or something at some teenage birthday party somewhere. But really, outside of that, it was just kind of business as usual for me, just being on the field. And it was a lot of fun. I told somebody today, a lot of times coaches talk about going out first day of practice after a while, kind of being like Christmas morning. And for me, it was like Christmas morning, but somebody else picked out all the gifts, and then you're opening up trying to see what you got. That adds even more excitement and a different flavor to it. But overall, really pleased with just the energy and effort of the guys, but some of the detail stuff we got to get cleaned up.
Obviously, you've been used to working just on your part of the offense. Yeah. Now, is it so different for you having to keep an eye on everything? Was your head spinning a bit?
Yeah, it was actually a lot more fun. I can remember Coach Sweeney talking as a head coach, saying that the most exciting part of his day was doing football at practice. And for me as a coordinator, that's probably the most stressful part of my day. But I experienced that today of being able to walk around and see, the other groups, walk over there, watch the D-line work and watch the linebackers work and go watch the kickers a little bit. So it's fun to be able to kind of take your time, obviously first time since high school, when I've been a head coach in high school back in 2005, 2006. Outside of that, it's the first time that I've been able to walk around practice and see what everybody else does, just because for the last 12 years I've been locked in on either the wideouts or the offense in general.
Jeff, you had mentioned a couple times not watching any of the snaps from last season because you want these guys to make a first impression at practice. What were those first impressions? Would it be there certain guys or position groups?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall as a group, and I kind of went in with, I wouldn't say I had high expectations or low expectations. I really just kind of went in with no thoughts or expectations into it. And but overall, and again, it's just the first day in shorts. We haven't put any pads on or anything like that. Overall, I was really pleased with the athleticism of our skill guys. Just watching the guys throw and catch, watch the DBs break on the ball. I mean, I was really pleased with that, with what I got to see. And obviously, we'll see how that continues whenever we get back, 2 weeks from now and put the pads on and see how it all translates when we have more installed. But just generally speaking, I was really pleased with the athleticism of our skill guys.
You mentioned the DBs, Coach. You turned a unit that was top 20 nationally in terms of passing yards allowed. Is that kind of where you anchor your defense on?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's no question. I think it should be one of the strengths of our team. And obviously, it's a new scheme, new coaches, all those things. So you don't want to take anything for granted. But each year is going to be different. There's some years you may have a lot of experience at the defensive line and be young in the secondary, right? And that works hand in hand. You need to get pressure on the quarterback to help out those guys in the secondary. And this may be one of those years where we're experienced on the back end and hopefully help those guys up front a little bit. But as far as you know, each year, I don't think you change your overall philosophy. I mean, I think ultimately games are won and lost with the guys up front, offensive line and defensive line. You know, it's exciting for fans watching the skill guys and those type of things. But, you know, I just know from my experience at Clemson, we were really good at wideout and quarterback and DB for a long time, but we really didn't start playing for championships and having serious seasons until we improved at offensive line and defensive line. So I don't think my philosophy on that will change, but you know, what we do within our scheme may change based off of our skill set and experience.
Kind of lit up when you talked about the family atmosphere.
Yeah.
Just how important is that to have and maintain that?
That's critical. I mean, I was telling somebody earlier, I would not be here and I would not be in coaching if Bobby Bowden didn't let the families be involved in the program back in 1985, 1986. And I mean, I can remember, it's funny for me watching my daughter Savannah out there at practice playing with the other coaches' kids, because I could remember that being me as a young kid. And, you know, even Brent Stockstill, who's one of our offensive analysts, I can remember him being 7, 8 years old running around Clemson when his dad, Rick Stockstill, was my wide receivers coach. You know, and so I think it's great. It's a great image also for our players to see the families be a part of that. I want our players to not just see me or the other coaches as their coach. I want them to see us as a husband, as a father, and you know, hopefully help them in their development in a lot of different areas.
Coach, a lot of teams, a lot of leagues have adjusted their normalcy because of coronavirus. Have you guys done anything differently? Are you guys planning on any contingency plans?
Yeah, we definitely talked about it. I just talked to the players right there again after practice. Number one, doing the best job we can with you know, great hygiene, washing our hands. I mean, you got a lot of guys in the locker room, so everybody kind of cleaning their area, and we'll do some measures once the guys leave to really go wipe down everything, probably even more than we've done in the past. But I think the biggest thing is just kind of educating them on that, and then, you know, also talk about, we've got spring break coming up. So that was one of my questions is, you know, is anybody that's planning to leave the country? And we didn't have anybody really that was planning to do that. So I didn't want to lose anybody for the rest of spring, coming back from spring break and being quarantined somewhere. So it's definitely something that we're talking about. I know Michael Kelly, our director of athletics, has been involved almost daily in some leadership meetings at the university with the president and that group, and he's come down to fill me and the other coaches in on, you know, it's just kind of one of those things we're working through, but trying to do the best job we can with the information we have at this time.
You talk about that. I'm sorry. You talk about that athleticism on this team. Practice got off to a pretty good start with the backflips.
Yeah, I didn't have that scheduled, but I guess that's something they've done here in the past, and you know, that's part of my job too. Is you know, I have some things that I want to bring from Clemson that I believe in, and then also leave some room for some of the things that the guys have done in the past that they enjoy. And so, as long as they don't get hurt doing those backflips before flex, I'm okay with it. But yeah, they enjoy that. That was actually my first time seeing that, and I was not expecting that. So they landed it today. So we'll let it happen Thursday, and we'll go from there.
Taking a look at, you know, some of the personnel you've got, Darian Felix lined up both and took reps doing running back drills and wide receiver drills. Is that kind of where you see him playing in a?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a running back for us. I think what you saw, just watching a little bit of limited practice that you guys were able to see, is just, you know, putting the running back in some formations in a slot, basically. And I think that's one thing that I believe in, and we've done at Clemson. That's one thing that Charlie Weiss believes in. He's done in his past, is just trying to find mismatches, right? Sometimes the running back linebacker can be one of your best matchups. You know, sometimes those corners are pretty athletic out there, and maybe it's an even matchup outside, but you can find matchups inside. So I think, you know, that's probably what you saw today there. But there's no doubt Darren's a guy we're really excited about. He did a good job just kind of flying around today, and we'll learn more about his progress once the pads go on.
Jeff Benton Sanders was in a red jersey. Any long-term concerns there?
No, we've got some guys that are just limited, maybe coming back from some shoulders and things like that. And so that's just kind of extra precaution to let other guys on the team know not to bang into them. And, you know, I think our training staff does a really good job of letting the coaches and players know exactly what drills they can do, what drills they need to stay out of, and so we can get as much done. But a lot of those guys are progressing well, and I think he'll continue to get better as he is able to get healthier here later in spring.
you sense an extra adrenaline with the guys anxious to get out there for the first time?
Yeah, and I think that's normal. Probably everywhere the first day of spring ball, right? A lot of excitement and energy. And, you know, I told our guys in the team meeting today that, hey, today's the start. There's going to be a lot of new beginnings. Today is the start of first practice, right? We talked about united from start to finish. I said at some point this year there's going to be a finish. I don't know if it's going to be after the last home game here against Central Florida, or if it's going to be after a bowl game in December or January. But, you know, how we start and then really how we attack each day between the start and the finish is going to ultimately decide what our finish is and where it is. And so that was kind of the message to the guys that, hey, there's no doubt today's an exciting day, but it's just the beginning. It's really the cumulative effect of all these days put together. All right.
Thank you, Coach.
All right.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
y'all.